man, did this movie surprise me. Train to Busan was directed by Sang Ho Yeong. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't very keen on seeing this movie after I saw the trailer. I just thought, it's just another zombie movie. The only thing I was intrigued by in the trailer was the fact that it was all set on a train. Because most zombie movies are set in this huge city, and this is just more in a very enclosed in, claustrophobic area. And slow zombies would have been bad enough in that situation, let alone them running, which is what they are in this movie, and that did kind of intrigue me. There was actually another thing that intrigued me outside the trailer, and that was the Rotten Tomatoes percentage, which was 96%. So after that fact, I had to go and check this out. And let me just say, this is one of the most intense 2-hour films I've seen in a long time. Well, it actually wasn't 2 hours, I think it was only like an hour and 50 minutes, but you get the idea. And let me also just say, in my opinion, this is probably one of the most best zombie films I've ever seen. That's right, you heard me. So this movie is basically about these two characters, Sook Woo and Soo-an, played by Yoo Gong and Soo-an Kim. Once again, I'm sorry if I'm saying your names wrong. Anyway, so the father decides to take the daughter to Busan via train. So the father and daughter hop on the train without any knowledge of this zombie outbreak, and this person that's infected with this zombie virus, it hops on the train. And let's just say, all hell breaks loose. Other characters in this movie include this couple, and I gotta say, this dude is a really awesome character. One thing that really made this character stand out is the dialogue between the main character and this guy, and I think this guy's called Sang Hwa or something like that. The main reason for that is because of them being very different characters. Sang Hwa is a bit more of a, I guess you could say, a hero character, while the main character cares more about the safety of himself and his daughter. So you can kind of paint a picture of what the dialogue would be like. It was kind of funny sometimes. Some other characters include a baseball team, 2 elderly women, and some other random characters on the train. But let's talk about this. Man, if you thought Shane from The Walking Dead was bad, oh buddy. I think that's enough talking about the characters. Let's move on to some negatives. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have many flaws. I guess you could say it does have some slow moments throughout the movie, and it does take around 15 minutes for the zombie action stuff to start happening. While in World War Z, it only takes around 5 minutes for the zombie action. But I don't really think that's a bad thing at all, since the characters have much more depth, and you care whether or not they die. So as you can tell, there's not really much I didn't like about this film, so I guess I'll move on to some more positives. One thing I also liked about this film is the fact that there are no shots fired whatsoever, meaning that this movie is full of close quarter action rather than a dude just standing there going. The last thing I'm going to say about this film is it's quite an emotionally impactful film. Meaning that it's not just this shocking film where you're sitting there going, oh wow, look at all those blood, guts and zombies. It's a bit more than that. Alrighty, so I think I've said enough in the non-spoilers review, and I'm still confident enough to say that this is probably one of the best zombie films I've ever seen. So at that note, I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. I'd definitely say if this movie was still in cinemas, I think it was released last year in August or something like that, I would definitely say this is cinema worthy, but since it's not in cinemas, I guess worth buying on Blu-ray. And it's of course worthy of a piece of licorice. Let's move on to some spoilers. Sound the alarm! The rest of this video contains spoilers, so I would advise watching this part of the video if you haven't seen the movie. Unless you don't mind spoilers, in that case, go right ahead. Can't say I didn't warn you. So I'm going to start by saying the thing that emotionally impacted me the most. And that was the little girl singing in the tunnel right at the end. Now if you remember from the beginning of the film, when Soo-an tries to sing in class, she couldn't sing the rest of the song because her father wasn't there. So the father finds out about this and tells the daughter in the car that you have to finish off what you start. And well, as you know, the father dies, but Soo-an still sings the rest of the song. Now the scene with the father jumping off the train because he knew it was infected was still also very emotional. Like the mix of the soundtrack and the acting, especially from the little girl, was just all perfectly done. But for me, I felt the scene when she sang in the tunnel was the most emotionally impactful for me. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit more about Sook Woo, which is, the father character, and just his character arc. So right at the beginning of the movie, Sook Woo is kind of, he cares more just about the safety of himself and his daughter. He doesn't really consider the people on the train. That's all he really cares about, is making sure him and his daughter get to Busan safely. But as you know, throughout the movie, he starts to change. And he ends up being a pretty helpful character with this group of people. And I think the moment that changed his character was when they were in the train station. And there was a heap of zombies coming at him. And he was actually going to go another way to like a VIP kind of thing. He knows these people and he was going to escape this other way. And this homeless guy overheard the conversation, as you know. And he wanted to follow them. But he said no, because, you know, it was only for him and his daughter for a quick way out, because the other people were going to end up getting quarantined. And as you know, that doesn't work out that way, because there's a heap of zombies there. There's no people whatsoever, well, as we know of anyway. And they just end up getting rushed. So Sook Woo ends up getting a bit stuck in this sticky situation with a zombie on him, and he's got a book trying to hold him still. And the homeless guy comes along and throws his jacket over the top of it. I think when he was sitting there shocked after the homeless guy threw the jacket on, that was a pinnacle moment for him. And he basically saw it as, this homeless guy helped him. Even though he wasn't willing to help him, this homeless guy took up his jacket and threw it over the zombie's head to save him. So basically after that, you notice that he helps other characters a lot more. And especially, as you know, later on throughout the movie, when they're in the train and they're just taking out a heap of zombies. Like, I guess he didn't really have a choice because he had to save his daughter as well, but he's a much more helpful character. You notice it, like when he saved the homeless guy, when they were on the train, and him and the homeless guy didn't make it, and he was sitting in one of the seats, and they went out of the tunnel so the zombies could see again, but he went back to save the homeless guy, and so as you can see, his character changed. So in a way, he basically turns into Sang Hwa, which was the character that, you know, he was willing to help anyone. But probably not as big, because that guy's massive, or, well, badass. Because even at his last breath, he was still holding off zombies. Like when he got bitten at the door, and there was a heap of them just piling on him, he was still holding them off. Even when he was half turning, he was like, grrr. Even though I didn't want that character to die, that was one of the best ways they could have done it. Alright, so we've talked about the little girl. We've talked about the badass character. We've talked about the dad. Oh yeah, let's talk about this bastard. The first savage thing I noticed was when they were at the train station and it was meant to be a supposed quarantine zone. And as you know, it definitely was. So he says to the train conductor, let's leave. And the guy's like, no, we can't. There's other passengers. And he just doesn't care. He's still arguing with him. And it's insane. It's like, dude, are you serious? The next thing that really stood out is when he blocked the entrance on the train. So he like blocked the carriage, and there was other characters that were stuck on other carriages because they had to just get on the train wherever they could, because one bit it was moving. And he blocked the entrance, so these certain characters couldn't get in. And he was all scared and paranoid going, what happens if they're infected? Now, I know you could probably say, well, he was trying to save the other passengers, and you know, those other ones were stuck on other parts of the train. So, you know, they could have been infected and it could have made the matters a lot worse. Well, let me just say this. The first savagery thing I said, he doesn't care about the passengers. Alright, well, let me just mention the third thing. He pushes that cheerleader girl in front of the zombie so he could buy himself some time, which ended up killing the baseball player as well because he was holding her in her arms and then she bit him. And then to make it even better, he pushes the train conductor into a horde of zombies as well because, you know, he tripped over and such. And the train conductor came over to help him. And yeah, he got himself killed. And he even pushed the train worker in front of a zombie when they were like hiding in the, I think the toilet cubicle thing. And he said to the train worker that it was safe. So he pushed him out in front of some zombies. And I gotta say, I wasn't even that satisfied when he got killed off at the end because he ended up biting the main character, killing him. And then he tried to justify it right at the end of the movie saying he had to see his son and that's why he had to do it. And come on, man. Sook Woo had to still see his wife. You didn't see him running around pushing dudes in front of zombies. Okay, so I think that's everything I wanted to mention in the non-spoilers review. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the characters and such. And yeah, great movie. Great movie. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you folks in the next one.